Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the big picture of the global climate crisis. We're going to look objectively at what's actually happening out there, why it's happening, and, crucially, how we can actually fix it. Think of this as the greenhouse blanket, a roadmap to global climate recovery. Because honestly, a roadmap built on hard data is exactly what we need right now.
Have you ever noticed that the weather just feels kind of different lately? Well, it's for sure not just you. Whether you've personally been sweating through a crazy record-breaking heat wave, or you've seen a local storm that was just vastly more intense than anything you remember as a kid, our planet is basically trying to tell us something. It's sending a message, and today we're going to read it.
All right, Section 1, the global climate crisis and the human impact since the 1800s.
Okay, let's dive into this. For a long, long time, Earth's climate just cruised along on its own natural cycles. But then, right around the 1800s, humans kind of took over as the main character. We started burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, and gas, on a massive industrial scale. And doing that pumps huge amounts of greenhouse gases, mainly carbon dioxide and methane, straight up into our atmosphere.
The mechanics here are basically a simple four-step process. Step 1, we burn the fossil fuels. Step 2, we release those gases. Step 3, those gases gather up to form this giant invisible blanket wrapped tightly around the Earth. And step 4, well, that blanket traps the sun's heat. The heat comes in, but because of the blanket, it just can't escape back out into space. So the overall temperature is literally forced to rise.
Moving right along to Section 2, breaking temperature records and the stark data.
1.42 degrees Celsius. That's exactly how much warmer the Earth is right now compared to pre-industrial times. Now I know 1.42 degrees might not sound like a big deal when you're just picking out what to wear on a sunny afternoon, but on a planetary scale, 1.42 degrees of trapped heat is absolutely massive.
And what's crazy is how fast this timeline is accelerating. Just look at the window from 2015 to 2024. That 10-year stretch was officially the warmest decade ever recorded in human history. So this heat isn't some abstract, distant future threat, right? The stark data shows us it's happening right now, breaking records year after year.
Section 3, the domino effect. Because it is about so much more than just warmer weather.
Earth is this incredibly sensitive, deeply connected system. So that extra heat, it triggers a really dangerous domino effect. You get these intense droughts, which immediately lead to water scarcity. That super dry land then fuels severe fires. Meanwhile, you've got melting ice causing sea levels to rise, literally swallowing small island nations whole. It threatens our health, our food supply, and the tragic end of this whole chain, forced relocations. Some communities have already had to just pack up and flee their homes entirely.
Okay, Section 4, a roadmap to recovery and hitting the critical 1.5 degrees Celsius goal.
Look, we don't have to just sit back and watch these dominoes fall. To dodge the absolute worst, most catastrophic impacts, we are definitely on the clock. But here is the time-sensitive roadmap. By 2030, we have to cut global greenhouse gas emissions in half, and by 2050, we need to hit net zero, basically meaning we aren't adding any new gases to that invisible blanket.
So, how do we actually pull that off? Well, the single biggest step is a massive swap in our energy systems. We have got to move away from the coal, oil, and gas that created this blanket in the first place and transition fully over to renewable energy, stuff like solar and wind, which, importantly, do not trap the sun's heat.
But hitting zero emissions is really only half the battle. We also have to deal with the changes that are already here. We have to adapt, and that brings us to a really important number, 10. Adapting means protecting ourselves from existing threats, like building early warning systems for disasters, and these systems are incredibly effective. Actually, they save 10 times more in property and human lives than they even cost to build. A 10-to-1 return on investment for saving lives? That's incredible.
Section 5, a matter of fairness and the carbon footprint divide.
Solving this crisis is going to require shared global responsibility. But we definitely didn't all contribute equally here, and this brilliantly illustrates that divide. The top 6 emitters in the world, which includes the US, China, and India, crank out over half, more than 50% of all global emissions. Meanwhile, the 45 least developed countries in the world, they contribute a mere 3% total.
So the crucial takeaway is this. The biggest emitters absolutely have the greatest responsibility to lead. The nations with the largest carbon footprints have to transition their own grids to renewables, yes, but they also need to financially support developing nations so they can build greener economies too.
Because ultimately, this whole thing comes down to the financial bottom line. Yes, climate action requires a really big investment right now to secure a cleaner future. But staying silent, doing nothing, that is going to result in a vastly more expensive bill down the road. It's pretty simple. We can pay the bill today for a stable planet, or we're going to pay dearly when the cost of extreme weather damage totally outpaces our ability to rebuild.
Now you might be wondering, okay, what can I actually do personally to help build momentum for these massive systemic solutions? Honestly, it starts small. Stay informed on the data. Have open conversations about the benefits of renewable energy with your friends and family. Advocate for protecting our biodiversity. The more we normalize these solutions, the more pressure we naturally put on the top emitters to step up and act.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today, and I'd really love to see your answers in the comments. What is one change you are making this year for the climate? Let's keep this conversation going. Thanks so much for joining me for today's Explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.